parts who don't follow the religion strictly.
And you have considerably less breast cancer.
Absolutely, much less cancer. So you get 20 extra years of good health and life. Then you can look at individuals in China who are eating a Chinese diet. Chinese diet is different. That's an Eastern diet, quite different than what we eat, which is called a Western diet. They really don't eat much meat, if any at all. They have tofu and other sources of protein, and they eat a lot of vegetables. And those individuals almost never have heart disease, almost never have diabetes, never have arthritis, and hardly ever die of cancer. Yet those same individuals who move to Hawaii and adopt a Western diet, within 10 years, have almost the same ranking of cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, all the things that affect us. So if you take some of that information and you put it in your head, you can think about how important your diet is to your health. It's about a veggie diet, and then try to answer your questions if you'd like. Do I need the microphone?
Yes.
I do need the microphone?
Yes.
That's too bad. Let's test it. So, veggie diet, we're going to talk about the health benefits of veggie diet, and that means it's coming from a plant. So if it's coming from a plant, you're going to get a benefit from it. If it's not coming from a plant and you're eating it, chances are you're not going to get a benefit from it. So let's see where we get this information from and why. One of the things that we might want to consider is our world. So the first reason that a veggie diet is good for our world. And why is that? Well, the world only has a certain amount of oxygen and a certain amount of water and a certain amount of soil. And if you're going to use it up growing animals to eat, you're going to end up running out of things. So if you think about it, our forests are being cut down for grazing, for animals, and what you end up having is about 16 pounds of vegetable protein to create 1 pound of animal protein. So you can see that it makes a lot more sense to feed the world on the vegetable protein than it would on the animal protein. And those animals that we're growing are producing a lot of very noxious gas, and those are gases that cause global warming. If you believe in it or you don't believe in it, it's happening. So when you have a meat-based diet for Mother Earth, you are destroying your mother. So if you hate your mother, keep eating meat. But if you like your mother, you might want to consider an alternative diet and a healthier diet. If you want to think about your fellow human beings, in the United States, very, very few people starve to death unless they want to do that intentionally. But around the world, in the time that we had this lovely dinner, several thousand little children starved to death. And that's pretty sad. So if you think about your fellow human being starving to death, then you think about the amount of plant protein that could keep them alive, and that plant protein is actually being grown in the countries that the children are starving, but that plant protein is used to feed cattle for everybody else. But you might also, particularly, we're here to promote business, and it's a very, very big business. So what is it about our Western diet, and what is it about a vegetarian diet? What is it that's so different? Well, both have protein. And one of the things that we think about when we're a vegetarian is that we don't get enough protein. But the reality is, as a standard vegetarian diet, in other words, just taking plants, you get more protein than you need. If you do a Western diet, which includes meat, you're getting probably between 4 and 10 times the amount of protein per day than your body can use. And what happens when you have extra protein? Well, your body can store some of it as fat, which is not that great. But what your body will do is try to break down protein to get rid of it. And what is the first product of protein when it's broken down? Well, it's ammonia. And ammonia is quite toxic. And the second byproduct is urea. And urea is also quite toxic. So when you have a high protein diet, you have a lot of poisons being created in your body every single time you take that protein in. So you don't get too much protein in a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet, you get just enough. So there's not really excess protein to break down to injure your body. But when you are on a meat-based diet, you're getting a tremendous protein load every single time you take that meat in. If you drink milk, you're also getting a gigantic protein load. So if you are doing dairy, particularly milk, skim milk is almost all protein. So what you're getting is a tremendous amount of protein, which your body has to get rid of, and it gets rid of it in the only way it knows how, and that's to start with these very, very toxic products and continue to break them down and get rid of them through the liver and your kidneys. So protein is an acid. How does your body block an acid? It generates base. The biggest base in your body, it's your bones. So lo and behold, here we are, eating a lot of protein. Your body has to compensate for it by releasing some chemicals from the bones, and you get osteoporosis. So why is the Western diet so prone to osteoporosis? Because of this excess protein that you're taking in. So you're asking for osteoporosis. What else are you asking for? Well, you're asking for kidney damage. There's a tremendous amount of kidney disease in the United States, and you don't see that in areas of the world that have a Mediterranean or an Eastern diet. Why? Because there's not that heavy protein load in the Mediterranean or Eastern diet. It's only the Western diet that has this very, very heavy protein load. What is the treatment for kidney disease? It's a vegetarian diet. It's a low protein diet. So if you develop kidney disease, you're going to have to get onto a vegetarian diet unless you want to have dialysis or a kidney transplant. What else does high levels of protein do? Well, they're poisons, and those poisons are promoters for cancer. So a high protein diet increases your risk for many types of cancers, particularly colorectal cancer. And colorectal cancer is an epidemic in the United States. So what happens? Well, the protein comes in, the body tries to get rid of it, but protein is difficult to digest, particularly protein from meat. So some of that protein continues through your GI tract, and it sits there in your rectum, and what has happened is it's a cancer, it's a carcinogen, and it's sitting in your rectum, and people who eat a lot of meat, unlike people who are vegetarian, they don't go to the bathroom that often. So the stuff sits there, it sits there, it sits there, and the next thing you know, you've got a very, very high rate of cancer. So protein is in almost every single item in a vegetarian's diet. Protein is too high in a dairy, and dairy is a very, very heavy protein load, so I consider it closer to meat. But if you're eating your fruits and vegetables and tofu and all that, you're getting plenty of protein. Plenty, but not too much. If you're eating a meat-based diet, every time you take meat in, you have an excess protein load. How about what's next? Fat. Well, there's fat in meat, and there's fat in a vegetarian diet. The major difference is, for most vegetarian diets, you have just a few percentage points of fat in your diet. Just enough fat to keep your body running right, because your body does need fat to produce some of your cells and some of the compounds and some of the processes that go on in your body. So you just need some, but you don't need a whole lot. And lo and behold, Mother Nature, through a vegetarian diet, particularly a vegan diet, there's just enough fat and the types of fat that you need to work out well. In a meat-based diet, you are getting probably between 5 and 10 times too much fat. So what happens when you get extra fat in your body? You know what happens. You expand tremendously, you can't fit in your pants. But what else you get is the fact that fat is the storage component of everything. So you know when you have extra calories and extra fat in your diet, you're storing it by getting bigger. But what you're also seeing in those fat cells is where the poisons and the chemicals and all sorts of nasty things are stored. So when the farmer puts on all those pesticides and the farmer injects the animal with some of these antibiotics, it gets concentrated into the fat cells of the animals, and then you eat the animal, which has concentrated all those chemicals into its fat cells, and you get a mighty large load of poisons. So when you have an excess amount of fat in your diet, not only are you going to get fat, but all those poisons that are stored in that fat from the animals are going to go through your body. So it's horrible. To make it even worse, is there's something called cholesterol, which we all know about, and cholesterol is quite complicated, and we're not going to go into detail about cholesterol, but just understand there's no cholesterol in any plant product. Cholesterol is only in animals. So your cholesterol levels are going to shoot up when you eat animals because you are not only going to have the cholesterol your body is making, but you're going to have the excess cholesterol which you're taking in courtesy of the animals. So, animal diet, excess protein, which is not going to be healthy for you, excess fat, which is not going to be healthy for you. What's left? It's the carbohydrates. There's plenty of carbohydrates in a plant-based diet, and there's a certain amount of carbohydrates in an animal-based diet, but there's a whole lot of difference as well. In the plant-based diet, carbohydrates come with something known as fiber. Your body loves carbohydrates. That's what it runs on. So it needs the carbohydrates, it uses the carbohydrates, it loves the carbohydrates. But what your body also wants when it has carbohydrates coming in is it wants fiber. There's no fiber in any animal product. What does fiber do? Well, fiber controls your digestive tract. So when you bring in a whole lot of stuff into your body is going to absorb it and do all sorts of things with it. That fiber is going to control the rate that it's absorbed. It's going to release it to your body just the right way. It's almost as if it's magic. And the other thing that fiber is going to do is it's going to pull out a lot of things that your body doesn't need out. One of the things that fiber does best is it pulls out cholesterol and fat. So if you've got extra fat in your body and extra fat in your arteries, and you've got a nice fiber load going through, it's going to keep your arteries clean. So even if you have coronary artery disease, which many people have, if you switch to a diet that's high in fiber, and the only way you can do that really is by being a vegan or close to it, you're going to have health benefits from that. So what happens is you get carbohydrates in a meat-based diet, but the carbohydrates that you get in a plant-based diet are far better because of the fiber content. So again, fiber is only found in the plants, and that fiber controls everything in your body's absorption. That fiber will pull out some of the nasty things from your body. That fiber will take that extra protein that might be in your rectum and push it out. That fiber is also going to do other interesting things. One of the most interesting things that fiber does is it controls your sugar levels. So if you are diabetic or pre-diabetic or predisposed to diabetes or getting close to it, if you add fiber to your diet, you can control your diabetes in a far more rational and controlled manner than you can with medication. You can do it in conjunction with your medication, but one of the great things about a plant-based diet is that if you have diabetes, this will help you tremendously. So fiber is this magic bullet that Mother Nature has put in that is not available in the animal world, but is available in almost all of the vegetarian world. And that fiber helps in so many different ways that we can't really count it. And we're discovering new ways about fiber as well. Some of the fiber is actually soluble. It goes into your body and pulls things out and then comes back out into your intestines. It's absolutely amazing. And that fiber, again, is only found in a plant-based diet. So what you can see pretty clearly is if you're eating plants as your major source of food calories, those plants have plenty of protein, just as much as you need, even if you're a bodybuilder, it's right there. It has just enough fat, but not so much fat to cause you grief. It doesn't have cholesterol, which is one of the leading causes and indicators of heart disease and stroke. But what the plant-based diet really has is has the carbohydrates plus the fiber. And that fiber, again, is not available in meat. It's not there. And that fiber is going to give you so many health benefits that it's almost impossible to have a discussion less than 2 hours about fiber and health benefits. But just put it this way. Anything you think in terms of disease, fiber can help restore to health. And that is only, again, available in a plant-based diet. Now, some people think that they could take a fiber pill, and they could just do a fiber pill once a day. What that does is that shoots through your body. It peaks out very quickly. It pulls a lot of things out and makes you go to the bathroom, but it's not there 24 hours a day. Plus, that fiber pill is not composed of the same groups of fibers that you get in your plants. So tonight, where we had at least 40 different types of plants that you ate, and nuts and things like that, there are all sorts of different fibers in there. And each one is going through your body, and each one is telling your body to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's going to be there for the next 8 hours. And imagine your next meal is composed of a lot of fiber, and the meal after that has a lot of fiber. So lo and behold, you've got fiber all the time in your body from many different sources, because again, fiber is not just one type. Fiber comes in at least a half a dozen types. And those fiber types are found in the different fruits and vegetables that you've been eating. So yeah, you could try a pill, but that pill doesn't know what you need. The plants actually do. Your body knows what it needs. And the body can talk to those plant chemicals and fiber and all that stuff and have this very interesting communication down on the cellular and subcellular level and control your health and add to your health. And certainly even reverse some diseases that you might be suffering from. So the bottom line is you can get everything you need from a plant-based diet. You don't have to think too hard about what you eat. Just don't eat the same exact thing every day like I do. Don't make it the same thing, same thing, same thing. Try to vary it a little bit. And you will get all the different types of fibers that you need. You'll get all the protein that you need, all the fat that you need, without some of the very, very heavy negative items that come from a meat-based diet. There are other aspects to nutrition that are also important. Those are vitamins and minerals. I won't spend a lot of time on that, but I'll suffice it to say that those foods that you ate tonight are complete with all the different vitamins you might need and all the different minerals you might need. And you don't have to think much more about that than other than eating a variety of plant-based foods to get all the minerals and vitamins that you could possibly have or possibly need, even if you're under duress in health or doing things like heavy exercise or have a very high metabolic rate. They're plentiful in there. Compare that to a pill that you might spend a whole lot of money on. You don't really know how many minerals and vitamins are in that pill, no matter what that says on the side of the pill pocket. And the other aspect, too, is that you don't know how it's going to be absorbed from the pill. It's a very heavy load. You can overdose yourself, whereas when you're eating these fruits and vegetables, you're getting the minerals and the vitamins at every meal. And your body picks out what it needs that time and lets it come in, and it's as simple as that. Some of you might have heard all these commercials about how milk is a tremendous source of calcium and things like that. It's a complete and total fabrication, because calcium and vitamin D, they have to be in harmony with each other. And in order to absorb these things appropriately, they have to be in a certain amount of sequence. So the fact that you have these fortified milks, they don't absorb appropriately, and they don't absorb in the appropriate steps. So basically what you do when you drink milk is you get a very heavy protein load, but you don't get the appropriate vitamins and minerals that you really need. Yet, at the same time, if you were to have leafy vegetables, you would have a very, very easy time to get the calcium and other things that your body craves. So the bottom line is, you can get anything you want out of a vegetarian diet. If you add milk and dairy, you're really not getting a health benefit. In fact, you're getting some health detriment because they are too heavy in protein, too high in fat. They have a lot of putrefaction products. There's a lot of pus in there. That's things that you really don't want to have in your diet. And you don't really need anything from the animal kingdom to be very healthy and complete. And one last point is sometimes people think that we have to have meat to eat to get enough vitamin B12. But vitamin B12 is not in meat. Vitamin B12 is a contamination product from bacteria that are on the meat. So the reason vitamin B12 is high in meat is because meat is generally contaminated with a lot of bacteria. You can get just as much vitamin B12 as you need in your gut, believe it or not, because there are bacteria in your gut that produce it, but also from vegetables, as long as you don't scrub them until they're aseptic. So for most of us, you can get anything you want without needing any fortification, without thinking twice about it, and it's there, it's plentiful, it's ready. Our diet, the Western diet, the way most people eat, it causes a lot of cancer, it causes a lot of heart disease, it causes a lot of stroke, it causes Alzheimer's, it causes arthritis. All of these things are caused to a great degree by our Western diet. And you can avoid that by switching to what's called an Eastern diet, or more appropriately, a plant-based diet. And it's as simple as that. It's simple for you, It's simple for your children because they're going to suffer a lot of disease 20, 30, 40 years from now. In fact, you can't read the paper now without reading about teenagers and even sixth graders and those children being so overweight and starting to have some of the chronic diseases that we used to see in the elderly, but now seeing very commonly in middle age. I personally have treated or participated in the care of about 23,000 cancer patients. Not a single one of those individuals was a vegetarian or a vegan. I think that to me says a whole lot as well. So once again, a plant-based diet is much more varied. It probably tastes better. It has more than you need in all the nutrients. And it is good not only for you and your family, but for animals and the planet as well. So that is my 2 cents on the vegetarian diet. And I'd be very, very happy to answer anybody's questions as improperly as I can. Go right ahead.
What in the diet?
You want to think about yourself and your family, particularly if you have young children, about a plant-based diet. Because the stuff that you put in your mouth today, not only does it affect you now, but it affects you very, very much 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, even 40, 50 years down the line. So what's happening is what you eat today will come back to haunt you or come back to help you as you grow older. If you think about it this way, in the 1960s, a lot of young men were killed in battle, and those individuals had autopsies done. And the individuals who were killed in battle, who were very healthy enough to get into the armed forces, most of them had coronary artery disease, and most of them had prostate cancer. So even though these were young, healthy, supposedly 20-year-olds, when you started to look at what was going on, even by the age of 20, they were starting to show signs of what would be chronic disease had they lived long enough. Another interesting aspect is if you look at Seventh-day Adventists. Seventh-day Adventists apparently come in 3 varieties. One variety truly believes and follows the religious law. Those individuals do not eat meat, they don't smoke, and they don't have alcohol. A second group doesn't eat meat but smokes and drinks alcohol. And then there's a third group that does its own thing. If you take the